Don't waste your time worrying that you might crack the screen of your new iPhone 10. You don't want to do that. Brace for impact with Specs Presidio cases that give you up to 15 feet of drop protection and works with the phone's wireless charging, which is very cool. Spec even has clear cases for all you naturalists that want to show off the iPhone's sleek new design. We know there's a lot of show-offs out there. I know you all. So check this out. Shop iPhone 8, 8 Plus, and iPhone 10 cases in stores or online at specproducts.com/AppleByte. All right, Beach, let's get to the show.
Good morning or good afternoon. My name is Stephen Beach. I'm producer for the Byte Extra Crunchy podcast with your host, Mr. Brian Tong.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. It is episode 109, Byte Extra Crunchy. Keeping it munchy. You know how it is. Beach and Tong in the house. We had a little video technical difficulties, so if you're listening for the first time, and experiencing just our voice and nothing else, we are here to tell you that we are doing this podcast completely naked.
Totally nude.
I mean, I am. I don't know about you, Beach.
I'm sending you nudes right now.
Dude. I don't want to. No. Oh my God. I just got one. Oh my God.
Which one? Which one? I sent like 30 of them.
I don't know. I need to do the pinch and zoom, specifically the zoom part.
Oh.
All right, guys and gals. Thanks so much for listening in. It is episode 109. You know you can all be a part of our show. All you have to do is just call us at 1-800-616-2638. Leave your name, where you're from, your comments, your good apples, your bad apples, your perspectives. We love hearing them. And again, we were just filled with tons of calls, and Beecham admirably went through them like a champ.
Yes, man. We got like 20 calls, and I went through them, and I listened. And thank you guys all for calling. You have a lot of good insight into the world of Apple.
But we still had to delete some of y'all, so
we had to delete a bunch of you guys.
All right, let's get to the show. Really, the breaking news, the top story of the day, which should have happened to me at least a week ago. The iOS bug where you type, it's kind of like the I bug, where you type in the letter I character when it stood alone for a lot of people, not everyone. It would end up autocorrecting to like a character with a space and then this question mark in a box, almost like a Mario box. It was either the letter A, sometimes it was a hashtag sign, sometimes it was an exclamation point. It didn't happen to me right away, but it did happen just starting 2 days ago. But finally, Apple has released a fix publicly with iOS 11.1.1. It's an update that you can get right now. And according to what Apple claims, I haven't put it on my phone yet because it literally just dropped about like half an hour ago. This update will fix that iBug issue. I mean, everyone was going crazy about it. Did you ever see it, Beach?
Dude, I saw it on Twitter, and I thought it was the funniest thing because there's all these people walking around with their $1,000 iPhone 10s, and they can't use the letter I. You know, it was just ridiculous. And then a friend of mine, he found this Photoshop image. You know, it's like the iPhone X say hello to the future. It's like the ad.
Yeah, oh yeah.
But then it has like the little A and the question mark in the box next to it.
I know exactly what you're talking about. This is hilarious.
It's hilarious, dude. And I can't believe that's happening, and it's 2017.
And I think the thing is that, yeah, they know did anyone actually catch this? Like, it affected hundreds. I think it really affected hundreds of thousands of phones. I mean, it wasn't like a very isolated. Everyone could see it. People are doing it. And the weird thing about it is that, like I said, mine didn't kick in until just like a day ago, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it is just killing me. Now there are ways to fix it, but really the easiest way now is just download the iOS 11.1.1 update. We were going to tell you the ways to kind of go about it into your keyboards, and then go into text replacement, and then do something like that. But you don't need to now. Just get the software update, and hopefully it doesn't screw anything else up.
I saw this really funny post from someone. Because I guess Apple released like a blog post or like a how to fix that, right?
Yes, exactly.
And I see all these like people on Twitter or wherever it was, and they're just like, I didn't break it, Apple. Why are you telling me to fix it? You fix it. I didn't break it. You know, it's like, come on, dude.
Damn, real talk right there.
For real.
Real talk right there. Yeah. So Apple did finally fix it, but again, I feel like it's been over a week since it dropped. Maybe I'm not familiar with how time works, but it's been way too long. So fine, I'm not going to dump on them anymore, but it kind of speaks to me. This is just a bug, but this is a significant bug that you just wouldn't expect them to do. And I'm sorry, I know people hate this, but I'm gonna rewind back in time and just be like, I'm gonna say it. This wouldn't have happened under Steve Jobs' watch.
Oh no.
And if it did, the people responsible would have been put to task or put in the corner, and then they would have addressed it. They would have addressed it immediately. It would not have taken a week. I just think ultimately, it sounds messed up, but people aren't afraid of Tim Cook inside Apple's walls. I'm sure they're having more fun, and I'm okay with that. Like, again, we're the consumer that reaps the benefits of all the hard work. And when someone listens and says, you don't even know how to program and do that crap, guess what? You're right. I don't. It's not my job, So this stuff is not easy. But again, this is something like we literally have never seen a bug like this ever in the history of Apple.
It is hilarious too, because I'm still seeing it like in tweets, it's just, it's everywhere. And like, it'll be like some very famous, like, journalist or something tweeting something important. And then you see those little characters in there and you're like, what the hell, man?
Yeah, it's just crazy. So get it fixed. But I talked to some of my buddies. I'm like, literally, Steve Jobs was feared. And sometimes as a leader, having fear in the hearts of your employees can actually work to the company's advantage.
Oh yeah.
Not in everyday fear, but just that, there's a certain level of standard that we are expected to meet. And if we don't, we're going to get in a lot of trouble or maybe even lose our jobs. Like this is Apple, baby. This is Apple in 2017. Oh, that bug was just embarrassing.
Yeah. The I mean, it's called the iPhone and you can't touch
That's
the
what
word
I'm saying.
It's ridiculous.
Anyways, so that's that. Hey, good luck. It's all resolved. Let's keep on rolling. Two really great scoops and stories from our buddy Mark Gurman, who was a guest on the show, and who works for Bloomberg. The first story leading off, Apple is working on a 2018 iPad redesign with facial recognition. This would be a new model that, similar to the iPhone, would eliminate the home button. The other caveat around this is you remove the home button, you're able to bring the glass closer to the edges. Now, specifically for an iPad, I actually don't want a bezel-less iPad because you need to be able to touch the edges and not mess with the screen. Or they could maybe deactivate the edge or make it so that the super side edges aren't. But there's something about having just a little bit of bezel on the iPad that I would like. I mean, if you were using it, Beach, wouldn't you say the same?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you get fingerprints all over your screen. If there's a lot of reasons. You can also, sometimes you just drop it. You might ding an edge or something. So
I feel bad for the sorry soul that drops their iPad on the ground.
I know.
That would just be horrible.
Yeah.
The thing about this iPad, some new details that have emerged from it. So obviously, the idea is to bring facial recognition, iPhone X's Face ID to the table. But this tablet is also unlikely to include an OLED screen. That, we know that the iPhone X is an OLED screen, their first, their second OLED screen in a product. But they have more vivid colors, sharper clarity. The thing about this is that it would also drive up costs for the iPad a whole lot more. They're looking at least one new iPad model with a screen size similar to the 10.5-inch iPad Pro. We've already talked about Face ID. We've already talked about them removing the home button. This is all stuff that you could pretty much expect. The thing about also is if they did go with an OLED screen, it would raise the cost. But another thing is that their supply chain, their available partners in manufacturing that can't even supply OLED panels that large. So we know Samsung is the sole supplier for their panels for the iPhone right now. They would also be the only display maker that Apple is partnered with right now that would have the capacity to produce new OLED screens for the iPads. So there's technical and financial constraints that will make this unlikely. The other suppliers that Apple's partners with, if you talk about companies like LG Electronics, Japan-based Display Incorporated, and Sharp Corporation, even smaller China-based firms that they have on their roster, they're unlikely to have the ability to even supply tablet-sized OLED screens to Apple next year. These are partners that they're trying to get them ramped up just for the iPhone.
Yeah, it feels like they're painting themselves into the corner a little bit here. Like, they only have one supplier available. And then also this trend of all their products going up in price, that's not good. I don't like hearing that it's going to be more expensive,
Well, there was an interesting time where, Apple was seen as being a company that had really a little exorbitant premium prices, and people were getting turned off by that. Like they were kind of catering to almost to the elitists on purpose. Then they started actually, arguably under Tim Cook's reign, right before SJ was left the company, they started bringing down some of the general costs of their products, and you're like, oh wow, that's a lot more in line with what's out there. It's still more expensive than other products.
Yeah.
But you look at something like the iPhone 10, it's not really the first $1,000 phone. You could look at the Note 8 as being that first $1,000 phone. Yes, it does more. It is a different product. So, but maybe in people's minds, Apple has set this ceiling of, okay, we're going to make a $1,000 phone. Yeah. That when Apple does certain things because of the power that they have to the general consumer, it's perceived differently. So that I don't think, quite honestly, I use the iPad Pro every day. I love it. I wouldn't want an iPad Pro 12.9 inch with an OLED screen if it cost me $300 to $400 more.
I mean, unless they make it so it's more like a laptop kind of situation, right?
Well, that'll be the day. I think we're finally seeing the iPad do more, and I love what they've done with it because it feels like a unique product, but it still can't do nearly what the Surface Pro does.
Yeah.
Right. It's an absolutely better product. It's one of my favorite Apple products, and I know that it is more limited, but you can actually, it has unique features that make it feel like its own thing. And I think that's kind of important, that a product doesn't feel like every other product that's out on the market.
Yeah. I just feel like if they're going to make a new one, maybe work on improving it. I understand they're going to improve the screen, but that's going to make it more expensive, but I don't know. I feel like maybe try to bring the cost down, because iPads and tablets in general are just, they've been slowly, their sales have been slowing over the past few years. So why make another fancy iPad with a better screen and make it more expensive? I feel like that's kind of the wrong direction. I don't know.
And to your point, it's interesting about the iPad. Look, demand has lowered. Global tablet sales, according to the report, have declined 17% in the past 3 years. Apple couldn't really avoid that, right? They were being dragged. And I think they had something like 13 or 14 straight declines in iPad sales. But now with kind of this new iPad Pro line, Apple reported last week in their earnings that iPad revenue rose 14% in their fourth fiscal quarter, with an 11% increase in the number of units sold. We'll see how that trends over time. But, I've been a big proponent, and it's kind of good when I get excited about a product and I actually really say, like, you know what, I enjoy this product. It's nice to see that other people are responding to it, because the iPad is a product that I do not want to go away. Like, I want to keep that thing out there as long as possible, because as someone who travels, it is perfect for me.
Yeah. I mean, we do use our iPad a lot too when we travel. So
we'll see what happens with the iPad. But again, it's rumor 2018 redesign, facial recognition, slim borders, no OLED screen. Also, the Apple Pencil, which we've talked about before, is expected to not only be a new kind of improved Apple Pencil, better accuracy, and new software features that will work in partnership with this new iPad. So we'll see how that all shakes out. Another story from Bloomberg that they dropped. Here we go. Get ready for it. Before you know it, it's going to be here. Apple is ramping up work on an augmented reality headset to succeed the iPhone. Now, the report from Bloomberg and Mark Gurman again says Apple hopes to have the technology in place to build their new augmented reality headset sometime in 2019, and could ship a product as early as 2020. They want to get this Apple eyeglass. They're not going to call it eyeglasses.
I hope not.
But you know what I mean. They won't. They're over the whole eye name, right?
Well, you can't type it right now in iOS 11, so.
Get the update, bro. Get the update, bro. So the current what they're doing here, right, is we know that they've been working on this. They've been hiring boatloads of staff people in augmented reality expertise, eye scanning, eye tracking. So many different layers here. They have AR kit that was rolled out on iPhones, other people like Google reacted and was like, oh, we better release our AR platform. AR kit is showing off some of its potential. I don't think we'll really see it until we start seeing maybe some specific apps catered specifically to the iPhone 10, which does have the most capable front-facing camera that we've seen so far. We'll get to Animojis in a little bit. But according to the report, Apple's device, their own AR headset, will have its own display, which means it will not use an iPhone as the display to slide in there. This is going to be its own standalone product. It will run on a new processor chip specifically for this, and it will also have its own operating system, according to people familiar with the product. This is in the Bloomberg report. The development time is pretty aggressive. They said it could still change. So we'll see how this goes. Again, Apple is not the first to market almost all the time. They like to see how the market evolves and changes. Then they like to put out their offering. Sometimes it's good. Sometimes it takes a while to get good. The Apple Watch is a great example to me. Yeah, I bought the first Apple Watch knowing it wasn't the greatest thing. I wanted to review it. I wanted to have it and have my own experiences with it. But now the Apple Watch in its third iteration with the new watchOS 4, with the new internals that make it speedier, and quite honestly, the LTE for someone like me who works out and wants to have access to everything but not be fully connected with the phone, the Apple Watch Series 3 LTE is legit. Like, I love it.
That's good.
And I didn't love my Apple Watch before. After 2 generations, but now I'm
turn around, man. You've definitely turned around on the Apple Watch since the latest.
Well, I'm gonna show them love when the product's good, right?
Yeah,
when it's. So I think that's a good sign that it's maybe fine. It takes them a little longer to get there. I want them to come out with dope stuff. I wish they came out with the Amazon Echo. Quite honestly,
that's all. Yeah,
they should have done.
I mean, they kind of did with Siri. I mean, they were the first to have a personal assistant we were talking to, I guess. But it's not doing what the Echo's doing. Hey, getting back to the AR headset, when they say it's going to succeed the iPhone, what does that mean? It's going to be like a accessory to the iPhone, or that sounds to me like.
Well, the title's a little tricky, but I think what they're just trying to say is their next breakthrough product, right? That will succeed. Like, we had iPhone, we had iPad. What is the next big Apple product? I think people should listen to our show even as far back as 2-3 years ago, where I've always said, look, I'm not trying to be Mr. Future Predictor, but if there's any product that could be the next breakthrough product for Apple, it would be a pair of glasses.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I've said that. I don't even know what episode. It wasn't last week, guys.
Yeah, I think we were even talking about there was like some eyeglass demo that we were showing out. There's like a little video,
Yeah, there's stuff out there, but
augmented reality thing.
They have all the pieces in place, and they can make it look stylish enough. They made the Apple Watch look stylish, whether or not you like the fact that it has a round face or not. So the new operating system. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna echo you and say it definitely has to be stylish, because the VR headsets that we're seeing now and like the Google Glass, they just look ridiculous, and people just laugh at them, when they see them, kind of. So if Apple could do something that's augmented reality glasses, but make them look like a cool pair of sunglasses or something, then they win. You know what I mean? Like, if it's like a pair of Ray-Bans or something, then they win that whole. They'll win that whole scene.
Yeah, the big issue, according to the report, that Apple is having is creating their own headset with a built-in display that can also stream 3D video without draining its battery. It's obviously a lot of components here working together that makes it complicated. I don't wish this on anyone to figure that out. Totally. Now, a couple quotes just to see where Apple's brain is at. Cook, in her interview with The Independent recently, said anything you would see on the market anytime soon would not be something any of us would be satisfied with. So he's kind of talking about the overall market. Like, look, Apple knows what they want to do, but it's not there yet. Chief Design Officer Johnny Ive told a tech panel last month that there are certain ideas that we have, and we are waiting for the technology to catch up with the idea. So it comes down to, right, some of this is battery optimization. How do you actually do that? And sizes of batteries and their capabilities to be able to support this. I mean, we've seen, unfortunately, because these devices are so much more demanding, like our phones, it's not like we've seen revolutionary breakthroughs in battery life, but the fact is that these devices do so much, we take for granted the fact that how much battery life we actually get from them, you know?
Yeah, totally.
Here's another thing, just kind of to kind of pile on with this. Apple isn't going to wait around for another chip to kind of be a part of this. They're going to create their own chip. We've seen Apple be very successful working and creating their own, their own silicon. They have their own, A11 chip series that they've worked on to kind of customize. They have specific chips in the new iPhone that aid, whether it's the photo optimization and the kind of machine learning that's happening on the iPhone 10. They're making specific custom chips for that as well. So they're working on their own system on a package component for this new AR headset. And they're also working on a new operating system that they're calling ROS, for Reality Operating System.
Oh, wow.
Ooh,
that's cool.
ROS. You ready for that?
Yeah, man, I'm ready for that.
You ready for ROS? All right, let's just take a little breather and get to an awesome word from our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by LinkedIn Learning. It's now featuring lynda.com content. That was from a recent acquisition, the leader in online learning for the past 20 years. LinkedIn Learning is for problem solvers, for go-getters, for people who want to make moves in their career. Maybe you wanted to do things like this: master Photoshop, design a website, expand your creativity. Everything you need to achieve and more is on LinkedIn Learning. So look, whether you shoot photos on your phone or a DSLR, LinkedIn Learning can improve your skills. Courses range from basics, just like how to use specific apps, composition and exposure, and intermediate tutorials on landscape photography and advanced techniques like shooting RAW. It's all going to be there, but that's just like a tip of the iceberg. LinkedIn Learning has courses for experienced levels, covering a wide range of technical skills and creative techniques, business strategies, and more. So obviously, I got to check this out. I logged into LinkedIn Learning. I've used Photoshop for so many years, but I kind of wanted to get a refresher. So I typed in the app that I wanted to work on. They had like some introductory interface stuff because they've changed the interface over years. I am starting to play with the Creative Cloud version, but I kind of just wing it based on what I've known before. So they have like cool video tutorials. They even have transcripts. So if you don't want to watch a video to learn, you can read. I remember teaching myself how to use Photoshop way long ago by literally reading a book. Like that's how how it used to be. Like literally, that's how it used to be, right? Yeah. It wasn't on the internet.
Yeah, Photoshop's not easy, man. There's a big learning curve there.
Hell no. So look, there's so many amazing apps out there for multimedia. LinkedIn Learning is going to do it for you. So check this out. No hidden charges or upsells. You have access to all the courses you want for one monthly price. It's available worldwide, and you can learn from anywhere on your computer, on a tablet, or a mobile device. So we've got a special deal for you. You can get a free 30-day trial with LinkedIn Learning today by visiting linkedin.com/crunchy. That's linkedin.com/crunchy, all lowercase. So there you go. Honestly, if anyone has ever had any experience with the lynda.com package, just imagine that literally just being plugged into LinkedIn Learning because of this acquisition. And it's honestly pretty sweet. So I would say check it out, everybody.
That's cool.
Okay. Shall we continue to roll through the show?
Continue on.
All right. I don't know about you. Did you see Animoji karaoke over the past week, Beach?
I have,
did
yes.
You see? What did you think?
I thought it was fantastic. I helped CNET in Espanol. They did like a little Spanish karaoke together.
Yeah, it's
like a sing-along, a group sing-along, and it's pretty awesome, man.
Yeah, it's, I mean, I'm the first to always say I hated on Animojis. I mean, I thought they were cute, but it's like, come on, bro. Like, look, let's be real. Don't tout this as a feature for the iPhone 10, although it is hinting at how capable the cameras are. I get it. It's a fun way. I mean, there was even like a TV commercial I was watching last night from T-Mobile, and it featured Animojis.
Oh, like, really?
Yeah, it was just featuring a dude talking on his Animojis, like text messaging back and forth with a friend. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's happening. But Animoji karaoke like took the world by storm. Even I'm not here to talk about my own Animoji tweet,
I'm
but
watching it right now. I'm watching it. Can I play it?
Well, what's the? Yeah, I mean, you can try and play it.
Oh, you got many likes on this one,
dude. How many likes is it out right?
That's
it's
funny, man.
Social media, internet. It's just about timing. Like how many likes is on that thing now?
3,945.
Dude,
That's
what
huge,
the hell?
man.
That's a little insane.
That's
It's just me
crazy.
as the fox. It's just me as the fox. So, Animoji karaoke, check it out. Look, it's not too hard to do. All you kind of have to have two. You have to have your phone, and you have to have another audio source, whether it's another phone or a speaker, something playing this music. Put your phone right next to it, and you get like a 10-second clip to do that. There's people that are going crazy advanced where they're now screen recording so that they can get longer than a 10-second clip. They're doing the screen capture on your phone, singing through a whole song, and then syncing it later on. I'm guessing that's what Espanol did, right? They all were capturing their screen.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And then someone edited it together. It's like, this trend will live for a while, but it's already kind of lost. It's already like kind of dipped, right? It's like, it was hot.
It's one thing you're gonna try it once and be like, oh, that was cute, and then you probably never do it again.
Yeah, it's like, it's so sad how fast trends and news cycles move now. Like, I feel like it's kind of almost old.
Yeah.
But it will be new to everyone who gets a new iPhone. They're gonna be like, oh, dude, I'm gonna totally do that the first time I get it. Yeah, I wouldn't blame you. But the tracking is really awesome. Like, the face tracking is totally awesome.
All right. Let me play you Españols just for a second.
Estas son las mañanitas que cantaba el rey David a las muchachas.
I think they were. Oh my god,
it's awesome.
Wow, are they trying to sound annoying?
No, I think that's how they sound.
Oh, dude, sorry. Oh my god. Okay, I apologize.
Maybe they were all in the same room together, smiling and laughing. So.
Someone sounded like they had just sucked helium out of a balloon. I don't know if I don't want to be offensive, but I'm just saying that's how I feel.
Yeah.
All right, let's check it out. The iPhone has been obviously making the rounds in the internet world. This is really cool. We know about DxOMark, who has kind of established themselves as one of the leaders that comes out and says, look, these are the best cameras for phones. Marquez Brownlee, MKBHD, did a really amazing explainer about how DxOMark actually works. I would just say, look into that yourself. There's too much to talk about, and give them props for putting that out there. But the iPhone 10 was rated the highest smartphone camera specifically for photos in a smartphone ever right now. It had a rating of 101. Their scale is not based out of 100. So the iPhone 10's photography received a score of 101. Its video received a score of 89 with an overall score of 97, which leaves the Pixel 2 as still the number one phone based on a camera. They had an overall score of 98 compared to the iPhone 10's 97. Their photo performance was a 99 compared to the iPhone's 101, and their video score was a 96 compared to the iPhone's 89. That was kind of where the iPhone dropped off a little bit. These scores are weighted. It's not like it's out of 100. There's different aspects that they measure with photography, like exposure, color balance, texture, and then they prioritize those, and then they kind of weight it based on which ones in their minds are the most important. So either way, you're getting one of the best smartphone cameras on the market today, which is a good thing. I mean, you should be. It's pretty amazing. Have you seen some of the photos just photos that cameras on phones are taking these days in general is just bonkers.
Yeah, Lexi posted like a bunch of photos they took with the iPhone 10 on Instagram, they looked incredible. I was really shocked at how good they looked. They're DSLR quality pretty much.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. So check those out. There's a funny article, though, that came out later because people that have iPhone 10s are kind of freaking out about how clear the selfie camera and the cameras in general look like. And it's funny that they say that because I didn't think about it. And I'm not like a person who takes a bunch of selfies, but me and my lady we were taking photos, and I'm like, there's way too much detail on my face. But I didn't realize that people were talking about it. I was like, that looks gross, right?
I did see that on Twitter. I saw that trending, and people were like, I look so ugly in the new iPhone 10 camera because it's so good. I'm like, you can see every pore, every zit, everything on your face.
I bet. It's funny. We're getting to a point where there's too much detail. I'm curious, really, what you all think about that have been able to get an iPhone 10. Just your experiences with the cameras, because dang, it's like, selfies are looking a little too good now. Shoot.
Yeah.
They're showing our flaws. We need touch up. We need touch up apps now.
We need filters, more filters.
Dude, it's crazy. Another thing, DisplayMate, who has kind of been the de facto one of the sources for rating the, how good a screen is on a phone. They have just tested out the iPhone 10, and they call it, according to DisplayMate, the most innovative and high performance smartphone display that they have ever tested.
Of course.
With an A+ rating. They also congratulated Samsung Display for developing and manufacturing the outstanding OLED display hardware on the iPhone 10. The thing is that also Apple worked in partnership with this screen, so that's why when I talk about they're working on their own chips for optimizations with the screens, like Apple has kind of a role to play as well. Check this out. The iPhone 10 matched or set new smartphone display records in the following categories: highest absolute color accuracy, highest full screen brightness for OLED smartphones, highest full screen contrast rating in ambient light, and highest contrast ratio. It also had the lowest screen reflectance and smallest brightness variation with a viewing angle. So this is basically the best screen that you can get in a smartphone. And it's like, the funny thing is you can get all these ratings. That's great. I think sometimes you can see differences in screens when you have them side by side, but when all you're looking at as a phone, I think there's the psychology where people just want to know that when they pay X amount, that this is the best screen ever. And it's like, they're all amazing screens, Yeah. Sure, they have their issues to a certain degree, but I will agree, this screen is really, really, really nice.
It does look beautiful, definitely. But it's funny that they congratulate Samsung. They're like, congratulations, Samsung, on the best screen in the iPhone.
they've got to give them some props. Now,
it's just interesting.
we also, it's really nice. So the other thing about this is, we know for people that care about technology in general, the Pixel 2 XL got a lot of criticism because it started showing effects of whether it was image retention or burn-in, just even like a week into it. They've released software updates for it. We'll see how that helps or not over the long term. But Apple, in a kind of a preemptive strike just to make sure, because they saw all the bad press that the Pixel 2 XL got. I mean, it really hurt the initial impressions. I talked to people and without any follow-ups, they're like, oh yeah, the Pixel 2 XL screen is not that great. And I'm like, I have a Pixel 2 as well. It's still a great screen, but sure, when you tilt it side to side, it changes colors. So does the iPhone 10, but not as much. It's a lot bluer. But again, when you look at these things head on, they look fine. They really look fine. We haven't seen any burn-in with the iPhone yet or image persistence. So Apple released an official statement, and this is kind of what they said to address it in regards specifically to the OLED screen. This is from a document that they released, an announcement they made. It says, if you look at an OLED display off angle, you might notice slight shifts in color and hue. This is a characteristic of OLED and is normal behavior. With extended long-term use, OLED displays can also show slight visual changes. This is also expected behavior and can include image persistence or burn-in, where the display shows a faint remnant of an image even after a new image appears on the screen. This can occur in more extreme cases, such as when the same high contrast image is continuously displayed for prolonged periods of time. So we've engineered the Super Retina display to be the best in the industry in reducing the effects of OLED burn-in. And so we'll see how that plays out over time. But I just found it interesting that you didn't really hear people complain about, mostly because we haven't actually seen burn-in on the iPhone 10 yet. But Apple is like, okay, let's just put this out there just to let people know, because everything that they said is really what Google said. It's just that Google screen showed some image retention and burn-in after a week.
Yeah, I mean, I even saw it with my own eyes, and it's pretty shocking. It's like that's a big deal. That's a big problem.
Yeah, it is.
Yes, but so we haven't seen it on the iPhone yet, but people are just concerned, basically.
Yeah, and I mean, you spend all this money for these things, you better be. So we'll see what happens long term. But right now, I mean, look, everyone is saying the iPhone is the best screen. Apple has put this out about preventative measures that they're taking, and we have not seen any burn in it. So it is good as gold to me right now. And then finally, we can't really show it, but all I'm going to say is go online, search Samsung growing up, and watch the video that they put out. It's like a commercial where they just literally went in on Apple. They went savage and basically calls out Apple for how Samsung was the first with a lot of kind of trends and innovations in smartphones, from a larger screen, waterproofing, wireless charging, keeping the headphone jack. But they finished it up with this hilarious part where they had people in line waiting for the iPhone 10, and they gave a dude a haircut with the iPhone in the iPhone 10 line that looks like the notch.
Oh, really?
It's hella funny.
I'm watching it right now. It's pretty. It's like it's a saga. It's a very long one. I got to see this haircut thing though.
Crazy.
That's funny.
So I was just like, it's pretty beast. It was pretty beast. So let's get to the voicemail, shall we?
Let's do it. Thank you guys all for calling. We got a lot of good voicemails this week, and we're going to start off with this one. He's asking about the Qualcomm versus Intel chip.
Beat Gun Pong. This is Ed from Philly. And if you guys can just explain the difference between the Intel modem and the Qualcomm modem used in the iPhone 10. I know one is kind of scaled down not to take advantage of the 5G network, or maybe neither one can take advantage of the 5G network. And why did they use Qualcomm in half the phones and Intel in the other? Peace. Thank you.
All right, my man. So check this out. This is kind of, we don't know everything, but this is what we know so far. Much like the iPhone 7, there are two versions of antennas in LTE modem, inside the phones. Now there's two specifically in the iPhone 10. There's the iPhone 10 with the part number or model number A1865. It uses Qualcomm's Snapdragon X16 LTE modem. I could read the whole model number, but you don't want me to bore you with that. There's also the iPhone 10 with model number A1901, which uses the Intel modem. Now, which one is better? Historically, and it is true that the Qualcomm modem is a superior modem. Most people prefer it because it actually covers more cellular bands, and the performance of Qualcomm's chip has been better than Intel's. In the 7, it was actually tested in comparison. The Qualcomm chip was a better chip than the Intel modem. The Qualcomm modem was a better modem than the Intel modem. Now, why are there even two? Well, one of the issues is supply. And what it comes down to is the Intel chip supports GSM bandwidth, but the Qualcomm chip also supports CDMA networks. So Qualcomm supports GSM and CDMA networks, which means, look, you're going to have to put a Qualcomm chip in those phones. But if you have stuff like T-Mobile, AT&T here in the US, you can use an Intel modem because it supports just GSM. We know that, and this is Qualcomm and Apple are going back and forth in their lawsuits being filed back and forth at each other. Qualcomm is accusing Apple of basically making them look bad and throttling the speeds of their Qualcomm modem from the iPhone 7 so that it was in parity with the Intel modem. So they basically slowed it down so that the performance would be generally about the same. They're also the only chip maker making modems with the next generation gigabit LTE network, but you're not going to see that in an iPhone 10 model because Apple disabled the feature as well. It's not going to be supported. So even though 5G, what the marketing term is going to be, 5G LTE is not officially here yet. This is expected to roll out sometime, I think, late next year. But Android phones will be able to support that faster network speed. I'm not exactly sure who in the US is going to roll out with it first. It might be T-Mobile. We'll see. But that also makes you feel like, okay, so how do I get a phone with the faster modem if you really care about it? I mean, I experienced specifically a worse signal in San Francisco once I got the iPhone 7. And I know it's specifically attributed to the fact that it was an Intel modem that was in my phone. I wasn't making it up. First 2 weeks, I'm like, this is decidedly different. And it was. I think once you're used to it, you don't think about it. But when you know it, you know it. So the only way really to get an iPhone 10 with a Qualcomm chip is either through Verizon or Sprint, and you want to get the unlocked SIM version. There are ways that you can kind of even go around it where it is a pain in the butt, but you could buy an iPhone 10 at Verizon. you could kind of sign up for their introductory, like it's like a 3 gig data plan, then cancel it. But once you cancel that plan, you could then pop in, a chip from another company to use that phone, kind of like an unlocked SIM-free version. So there's ways to go around it, but ultimately, the only phone that has the Qualcomm modems will be Verizon or Sprint phones. And it's a story that can't be told in a minute, right? I just went into it deep, but that is what's happening. And that's also because of how Apple has treated the Qualcomm modem and throttling and whatnot. They're also in court against each other. So
it's crazy, man.
I know.
It's funny because they buy the chip and then they're upset because they're not using the chip properly. So,
and also funny. Because of all this beef, there's been rumblings that Apple is going to move exclusively to Intel modem chips for future products and just say, screw you, Qualcomm, because there's so much beef between them right now.
Wow. It's a Game of Thrones out there, man. Tech industry.
That's right.
All right. Here's the next call.
Hi, guys. This is Jimmy Guerrero. Calling about the whole home button issue and about getting used to it. I had the similar issue with the Galaxy S7 to S8. Actually, I got pretty used to it. I actually prefer not having the button now. And it's nice how when you press on the bottom of the screen, it does vibrate. And I also like what Google did by adding the smart lock. So if it's connected to Bluetooth, if I'm at home or I'm at certain places, I don't even have to worry about unlocking the phone. It does it automatically. So I just wanted to put my 2 cents in. And yeah, I used to be an Apple guy. Now I'm an Android guy. But, I love technology, so I still keep up. So, guys, keep up the good work. Brian Tom, you're the shit. Bye.
Whoa, language. I have never said a bad word on this show.
Cool. Well, that's very helpful. Very helpful information.
It's good perspective. I like it.
Okay. Here's another one. Here we go.
What up, Beach and Tongue? This is Medicinal Manchild from Huntington Beach, California. Wanted to float a little conspiracy theory I had by you. So Apple came out and said that they did not lower the accuracy or detail of the Face ID camera to help with production. But I was wondering if you thought possibly they cut down on the radius, which is why people are having problems unlocking their phone with it leaning on a flat table surface. Let me know what you think. Shout out.
Shout out.
Wow. Well, I think it's a fun conspiracy theory that we'll never get the answer to.
Yeah, totally. So they cut down on he's thinking they cut down the radius of where the camera can see. Is that what he's saying?
Yeah. There were rumors that they throttled down like its accuracy, but no one knows exactly in order to have them pass kind of Apple stringent requirements.
That's right.
In order for some of those parts to be pushed through so that they could then make more phones. I don't know. We will never know. I think it's a fun conspiracy theory. But Face ID, I think most people are pleasantly surprised with Face ID, but it's still not as fast as Touch ID, and it still errors more than Touch ID ever did, and it won't ever be as fast as Touch ID yet. I still do like it. I think it's great. But it's not as fast as any phone before it. So
I see. Okay, and that kind of harkens back to that story that Apple was like making it easier. They were they were scaling it back, the Face ID.
Yeah, they're just turning down the accuracy just to make it so. Yeah, and who knows if it really has an actual effect on the final product? We will never know.
We'll never know. Next call.
Hey, Brian. This is Shahab from Marietta, California. Last week you were talking about the gesture controls for the iPhone 10 and how you guys didn't like it, how you have to swipe down for the control panel and things like that. Do you think that it would have been wise of Apple to let the customer choose what they want to do with the gestures, like where you could go into the settings and have swipe up be something and swipe down be something else for each different phone? I would like to know your opinion. Thank you. Bye.
I think you are very optimistic, but remember, Apple is one of the most controlling companies we've ever seen in consumer electronics. And so, you can actually add like a home button virtual home button to the iPhone 10 using the accessibility options. But for Apple to let us decide what gestures do what, I expect us to never, ever see that day. It's just not in their DNA. They've never been that way. To be like, oh yeah, you can swipe up and do this instead. I just don't see it. Other than, accessibility will add. You can add different functions, but assigning it for the general consumer, for you and me to do all the time, I just don't see it. It's just not in their DNA. It's just, they're the most locked down company when it comes to consumer electronics.
They're going to tell you what gestures to use, and you're going to learn how.
They've already told us what gestures to use.
Totally.
We have no choice, right? So
yeah. Okay, here's the last call, and it's a real quick one. Here we go.
I have a question. Apple has so much money in the bank. Why don't they just buy Comcast outright and put the U.S. out of its misery?
Yes. Yes, please. I pay too much for Comcast.
You're going to pay the same or more if Apple takes over.
Probably. You're right.
I'm just messing around. I don't know that, but you might possibly.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's it, Brian. That's all we got, man.
All right, bro. Thanks for doing the show. Thanks for everyone hanging. Again, remember to call us to be a part of the show. 1-800-616-2638. That's where it's at. And Beach, I guess I didn't see you this week, so we'll have to see each other next week.
Yes, next week, and we'll have a new TriCaster up and running.
All right, bro. Hey, thanks so much, everyone. Take care. Keep it going. Apple Byte, extra crunchy, extra munchy. Have a great weekend or, week by the time you listen to this. Be safe, all right? Peace.